Yeah.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to episode 141 of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate Maxon here with you, along with my co-host. There you heard him, Mr. Archie Mitchell is here, of course.
What's up, everybody?
And my brother Aaron Maxon as well.
Hello.
We're going to start a little project this week that we came up with. It'll be about a 4 or 5 week level of episodes of the show. We are each coming up with dream rosters. We picked a year. We get 30 stars. You get to pick 30 pro wrestlers to be on your roster for that year. You can pick any available talent worldwide from that year. And then you're also going to tell us who are your first world champion and first tag team champions. Of course, we'll give reasons for why we picked said wrestlers. If we didn't, it would be like a 10-minute podcast. But before we get into all of that, of course, we got to shameless plug things, right, Archie?
Yes, of course we do.
Of course we do. Well, of course, we would be remiss if we didn't tell you to check out WrestleNet Radio. Many shows on WrestleNet Radio. It is available in the Google Play Store as an app for you to listen to 24/7, 365 pro wrestling talk and entertainment. You can hear Virtual Asylum shows on there. You can hear We Can't Wrestle podcast, Reliving the Extreme podcasts, Aaron's show, The Year That Was. Right now it's 1997.
Yes.
Of course, if you smell what the arches. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say all of this is like for the low price of $59.95 a day. It's amazing.
And even for that, it would be cheap.
Of course, if you smell what the Arch is cooking every week, Archie spitting that venom. I do love that show.
We will have an announcement this week about the show going forward. So,
yes, we will. And some more. I'm excited to announce. I can't officially announce it yet, but some more exciting content by other providers coming to WrestleNet Radio in the next couple of weeks. So, looking forward to that as well.
I'm excited for the Julia Childs podcast.
You know what, Julia Child has one of the funniest things in the history of television ever, folks. Yes. If you've never seen it,
oh my gosh,
she's making I think it's either a ham or a turkey, one of the two, and she drops it on the floor.
Yep. And
she picks it up and she looks in the camera and she goes, "Just always remember, you're the only one in the kitchen."
Right.
Funny old broad. Anyway, also want to discuss with everyone. Hey, you know what we haven't talked about on this show in a while?
What?
It's a fantastic group on Facebook, World Championship Customs.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we're still growing. I think we're at 1,300 followers and members and things now. Guys have been coming in and showing Ninja Turtles lately and Marvel comic superheroes that they're coming up with on their own, which have just been fantastic. And then we've got, of course, the wrestling customs, which is why we started it.
Yes.
And, I mean, guys are pulling out customs of AEW, older stars. Someone made a set of Killer Bees the other day, and they were fantastic. So if you like custom figures, check it out.
And events, of course, where you can win memorabilia and action figures, et cetera, et cetera. I was, I don't know what happened today. I totally missed your tag on your event.
Yeah,
Archie tried to do an event for an Evil Crush today, Hasbro, and it didn't fill. How does that even happen?
I don't know, but I guess because it's the first of the month and it was a Sunday, everybody was probably out having a picnic. You know.
Yeah, I just completely missed it. But anyway, yes, definitely join World Championship Customs if you were a fan again of figures, custom figures, memorabilia, etc., etc. Yes. Do it to it. Join the group right now. And last and certainly not least, before we get to the meat of the matter, the content for this week's show, I would be remiss if I did not, of course, mention that on October the 2nd, 2021, the We Can't Wrestle podcast is the big draw for a wrestling convention coming to Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yes, sir.
The Heroes and Legends Wrestling Convention will be there in Fort Wayne, Indiana. If you're in the area, come see us because we will have a table there. We will be recording shows at the show and many different things happening at the Heroes and Legends, the War Memorial Coliseum, Fort Wayne, Indiana, October 2nd, 2021. We've went over some of the folks that are going to be there in the past few weeks, and we'll say more, of course, as we get closer to the show. And once tickets go on sale, I will also let you know about that. Now, what they have announced, I don't know, since the last time we talked about it, Juventud Guerrera is going to be there.
The Juice?
Yes, the Juice.
Oh my God,
the Juice. Yeah, they heard he was going to be in the same building as the We Can't Wrestle podcast, and they decided to book him on AEW because he got the rub. He got the rub, brother.
Yeah. But I heard also they're looking to sign Aaron as well, but only if he'll do a death match with Nick Gage.
Fuck that.
No. He's gonna have the pizza cutter, and you're gonna have the pizza in your hand.
Talking about AEW?
Yeah.
I didn't need more reason not to want to work with those people. Don't tell me I got to work for that fucking herpy.
Oh God.
Also at the event, Hoobie's going to be wrestling at that event.
Who's he wrestling?
He is wrestling a local guy, Cody Lee. Elijah Burke is going to be wrestling Anthony Totelli for the HLW Heavyweight Championship. The Headbangers are going to wrestle. Gangrel will be wrestling on the card.
Oh, shit.
JTG is going to face Pineapple Pete.
Oh, now I definitely got to come. I wasn't coming before. Now I'm coming.
Chris Masters is wrestling on this card. And many, many more. So, yeah, like I said, we'll get more of the lineup as time goes on. And when tickets go on sale, we will let you know.
Is Cody Lee the love child of Cody Rhodes and Brody Lee? May rest in peace.
The name sounds like it works, doesn't it?
Right. This is our child, Cody Lee.
I'm the American Nightmare. Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to seeing JTG. That dude, like, if you guys don't watch the NWA, I mean, he's so much.
No, he's awesome on the NWA.
He's gotten so much. I mean, he was always entertaining and everything, but I didn't think he was like, the greatest wrestler in the world. But that dude, he can get down now, man, and he's in shape. And like I give it a couple of years, and I think he's back. I think he'll be back with Vince.
The good thing about the NWA is after they got raped, pardon my way of using that word, but for all their talent, like Eddie Kingston and Thunder Rosa and things, they brought in new guys like Chris Masters, JTG. And at first, I was one of them moaning and groaning, going like, really? They picked up a lot of guys that got fired and haven't been on TV in years? But then you see guys like Chris Masters and JTG fighting now, wrestling, and you're like, damn, where were these guys at 5 years ago?
Yeah.
They really changed out their way of doing it.
They've grown as talent, and it also shows you that if you have people that what do I want to say, respect the wrestling business and respect the way it should be booked, and use the talent properly, you can take a roster of, I don't want to say a roster of misfit toys or whatever, but I think you guys know what I mean. You can take a roster you had to like tape together and say, all right, this is who we got to work with.
And in NWA, they don't all look alike. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they don't all work the same style, and they don't all talk exactly the same way. Like I know in AEW, like they all look different, but they're all still fucking flying around 15,000 miles an hour and doing nonsense. And then in WWF, they're all they look like athletes, but they all look like athletes. You know what I mean? There's not a Trevor Murdoch in the WWE. I mean, Trevor Murdoch was in the WWE, but you know what I mean. Like
he wasn't used like he is being used in the NWA. He's great in the NWA.
Well, and that's the other thing too. The NWA I think does well. Having watched their last pay-per-view, they also know how to build a wrestling card. The card starts the way it should start, and then you build through. Like AEW, the card starts, and 90% of the time, every single match is
the same match.
Well, it's 100 mile an hour. There's too many high spots. There's no downtime. There's no a certain kind of opening match, and then you kind of build the card towards your main event. By the time you get to your main event, everybody's done everything already.
A typical AEW match, which it's almost 5 out of the 6 matches they have on their show, is lock up, wrist lock, super kick, suplex, lock up, wrist lock, super kick, suplex, arm drag.
And every match doesn't have to be 20 fucking minutes long either, for God's sake.
Not if they're all going to be the same. I mean, if they're different, then okay, you know. That's the thing about the NWA. They get an hour a night on their night that they have their show, and they have 5 matches, but each match is like 6 minutes, 8 minutes. The main event may go 15 minutes.
Right.
And they are different matches. You will not see the same move done twice on an NWA show. You know?
One name here that I noticed that I don't think I said last time we did the lineup for the show coming up on October 2nd. Scott Steiner is going to be
You're
at
joking.
the show. No, Scott Steiner. I'm going to ask him to teach me how to do some math.
Yeah, I'm going to need an autograph with him doing math on it.
I made the NWA Facebook page laugh because they were like, "Happy birthday, Scott Steiner." And I was like, according to Scott Steiner's math, he's 127
I
years
saw
old.
that. I laughed at it too.
All right, we're done with the shameless plugs. We're going to roll on here. And this week, Aaron gets to do his dream roster first. Archie is next week. Archie picked the year 1998.
Yes.
And then at some point in this series of episodes, we will have David Gold, the Grand Poobah of the Asylum, as well here to do 1999. And I have picked 1993. So David and Archie and I are stuck in the 90s. Aaron is in the 80s because Aaron picked the year 1989, the year of WrestleMania 5. The year of Steamboat and Flair. What a year in the history of professional wrestling.
Yep.
I picked it because it's my favorite year in the history of professional wrestling. That's why I picked it. 97 is my second favorite, but this is my favorite year. Everything was good. I mean, 97, everything was good too, but like guys that had been established in the 80s, you know, they were all hitting their stride. There were some older guys that were still around, but they were still good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is just 89 is a great year. Great.
It is.
A plethora of talent to pick from. I'm sure you had a hard time, you know, especially when, you know, I don't know, like I'm still building mine, but the first maybe 10 are easy because you're like, these are the guys I know, or my 10 core, like top of the card main event guys. Then you get to that other 20. And you're like, and I'm just using this as an example, you know, I got 93. I'm like, all right, I want beautiful Bobby Eaton because I don't want beautiful Bobby Eaton because I don't want to leave this guy off or what have you. So,
When I did mine, I wrote down like guys that just popped into my head right away. You know, I didn't look at anything. I didn't research anything because I didn't want to be like, oh, I'll pick that guy. But turned out he didn't debut until 1990. You know what I mean? That's
right.
But, so I made my initial list, and then I looked into rosters and read who was working and doing that. Wrote another list, and then I can compare them. And if they were on both, I kept them. And then there were like names that I saw that I was like, shit, I didn't even think of that guy because I didn't know he started in '89. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because maybe he wasn't in the mainstream or whatever. So, I also didn't want to pack my show or my roster with nothing but like main event guys. I was trying to think of it as like, if I'm booking this thing, if I'm really building this roster, I don't want like Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair. You know what I mean? It's like, no, there's got to be, not that I wouldn't want Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair. I'm just saying you got to have a balance in it. And then I put a lot of consideration into my tag teams because that's important. So there's like a lot of, and I am going to admit that I did make a TV champion. I didn't know we relegated it to just world and tag team champions, but I added a second.
Fuck it. You can do whatever you want.
All right. So,
boo.
So what do you guys, I can't speak. What do that could?
What do that could?
You're a normal man.
You're not as drunk as I thought I was.
We're live, pal.
I only actually had a sip. I was just going to ask you guys, want me to go like my heel side and then my face side, jump back and forth?
I was, you can do it however you want to do it. Because I was just going to do mine as like start at my, I guess you'd say, quote unquote, bottom of the card or whatever, and work my way up to my main event guys. But if you want to break it down heel face, you can do that too.
Okay.
However you want to do it.
All right. We'll go. we'll go with the face side first.
Okay.
Not that the reason being is I think, and anybody can agree with me, but your heels are more important, so we'll talk about them last. Well, not last, but next. So, and when I say this, like, I don't want to preface this. These aren't particularly in like, yeah,
Pecking order.
They kind of are, but anyway, the first guy out the chute is Jeff Jarrett, a very young Jeff Jarrett.
Very young Jeff Jarrett.
Definitely.
But a little white meat baby face. The girls will like him.
And he's probably generally going to get beat up by the big ugly heels.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's out there. He's a scrappy young man that's ready to get in there and get it done. And I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, when you go to one of Aaron's cards, and the opening match starts, the first song that you're going to hear is "Simply Irresistible" by Rob.
Yes.
by
Robert Palmer.
Robert Palmer. Yeah.
With having Jeff Jarrett on your card, you're going to hear him cut a promo where he calls everybody Fat Boy. That was just something Jeff said in every promo, no matter who he was fighting. Let me tell you something, Fat Boy.
Fat Boy.
Well, he better not be calling people Fat Boy on my show because he's a baby face. But, I mean, he'd been in the business for 3 years, so, I mean, his rookie legs would have been out from underneath him. So I think Jeff Jarrett would be a good
it's a solid pickup.
A solid pick. You could put him in the beginning of the show. You could put him in the middle of the show. And he is a capable wrestler. So Jeff Jarrett. Anybody got any?
At this time, you would be picking him up he's probably still working underneath in Memphis. So he's under the learning tree. He's had some good, like you said, 3 years. He's had good experience learning under Jerry Lawler and his dad. And right. I mean, a good pickup, Jeff Jarrett.
I agree.
So no nays on Jeff Jarrett.
No.
Nope. Right. I didn't hear Archie boo.
No. If this was like 99, maybe I'd be booing because then you got slap nuts Jeff Jarrett. But 89 Jeff Jarrett is good.
All right. Next guy, he might even be teaming with Jeff in some of these opening contests. Another good-looking white meat babyface, Shane Douglas.
Now that's a pretty decent pickup for this time.
He was he's probably only about 3 years in at this point too.
Right.
Because I think him and Mick started out together in '86, I believe. I've said this on Reliving the Extreme, and I think I've said it on this show. I'm not a fan of Shane unless he's in ECW, unless he's Shane Douglas ECW or ECW right. Shane Douglas. But
right.
I can see where Aaron's going there. Like he said, he could be in a tag team with Jeff Jarrett, and getting beat up by heels, and a guy a guy that gets some enhancement wins on TV.
Right.
But when it comes down to it, the main heels are going to probably be beating him.
And surprise. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Archie.
Well, I was just going to say, like you mentioned, he could be in a tag team with Jeff or with pretty much anybody. But you also have that Shane was getting experience at this point, too, because I think he was just finishing up with the Dynamic Dudes and getting ready to head over to WWF for that small little bit of time he had there, and then ping pong back to WCW, the team with Ricky, so.
And a lot of people don't, and a lot of people don't think about this. Guess what year Shane Douglas debuted?
What year?
1982.
What?
Yep.
I thought he started in like 85, 86.
What was he, 15?
No, he got to start, like he debuted in 82.
Yeah, but what is Shane? Isn't Shane Douglas only like 50 right now?
Shane Douglas right now, let me look that up. I don't know. He's 56.
56. Wow, I didn't know he was that old.
Yep. So yeah.
Wow.
So he's got years under him, but he's still young. He's a good-looking guy.
Definitely.
I'm not saying, he's a good-looking guy.
Could even maybe pull a heel turn.
Good-looking. No, I'm just saying.
My boy.
Yeah, I mean, he fits the bill.
Could even pull a heel turn with him one day.
Yep.
Yep.
And the next guy on my list, kind of in the same role, and that's when these three, these three guys are my white meat guys. They're going to open the show. They're going to maybe be on a couple angles, get some sympathy from the crowd. And this guy should come to no surprise to Nate that he's on my list. Brad Armstrong.
Wow.
Yep. Brad Armstrong in my locker room.
I like that.
If I don't like, Brad Armstrong is in my locker room, and
Brad Armstrong is.
I'm gonna keep him. I'm gonna keep him looking good. He might not have to win every time, but I can guarantee you that you tell Brad Armstrong to go out there and have a match that'll get people off their ass. It'll get people off their ass. Brad Armstrong was fucking great.
And it's 1989, so he still has a fantastic perm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those big sunglasses.
Like, if Brad Armstrong could have got over camera shy, that dude would have been.
Oh yeah, he is. He is as a worker, bell to bell. He is in a class with like an Owen Hart or that group of guys, that type of guy. A fantastic worker, bell to bell. And actually, I don't know what happened to my voice just then, but I don't know what happened when he kind of, I guess, went national, like as far as NWA, WCW when he was there, because he was actually really good on the mic in Continental, working for his dad. And so I don't know if he just got national TV camera shy or what the deal was, but he was good he was good at doing a fired up babyface promo in Continental.
And he was good when he was working with Brian Pillman and Liger for the light heavyweight belt too in WCW. He was very believable as that, I hate to say it, but gullible face that got tricked. When Brian Pillman turned on him, everybody believed it and was like, oh, damn, Brad got beat up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, here's the other thing, though, about Brad Armstrong, too. He was willing to take any gimmick they gave him in WCW. He was Bad Street with the Freebirds for a little while. He was Arachnaman. You know what I mean? So you throw a mask on that guy and tell him, right, exactly. Hey, Brad, we need you to job a couple times this week. No problem. Give me a mask.
Well, that's what I was going to say too on your card or on your roster, Aaron. He's a, I guess you'd want to say, a utility player too, because he's one of those guys that you could have him in the, like, maybe he didn't even have an angle or anything going on for a while, and you can elevate him up into like a TV title program, and then he can come back down and he's not going to get hurt because his work's
right.
Right.
All right. Is there anything else on Bradley?
Nope.
And by the way, I won't be giving Brad Armstrong any shitty gimmicks. He's just Brad Armstrong.
No, I know, but I'm saying if you needed to.
All right. Next guy, Dustin Rhodes. I want me some Dustin Rhodes on my roster.
And at this time, he's in Florida. He's really young.
Yeah, and then, he's also, WWE made it to the WWF there for a minute too. Right?
Yeah, in late 90.
Late 90, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, in '89 he was wrestling in '89. He was in Florida.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's
my puppy with big paws. That's the guy that I'm going to be able to get out there and like put him with some of my heels that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit and learn this boy. And because he's a big boy, he's got the name. You know what I mean? Like, he's got the name, so that's going to bring the people in.
Natural charisma.
He excelled in the ring when he was with Austin and with Rude when they battled for the TV and the United States title. And I think he grew as a wrestler being with both those heels in that ring. And honestly and truthfully, if someone would have given him a fair shake as just being Dustin Rhodes, he could have been a world champion. Maybe not in the WWF, but in WCW, in my opinion. But because they saddled him with that Goldust gimmick, and then he never really went any further without that gimmick, because then he was Black Rain and he was, 7, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now he's the American, whatever he is. Dustin never got that fair shake. So I think Aaron, you got a good job there with Dustin.
Nowhere to go but up.
Right.
And maybe booking him, I could get his dad to come in and do some commentaries.
Ooh.
Guest appearances and shit.
Right.
So
Right in the belly welly.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, baby. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be here in Best List Pro Wrestling.
I could be like, hey, Dustin's going to be wrestling one of the heels I'm going to name in the future. And Dusty Rhodes will be at ringside. Fucking people will show up. I'll sell out that pavilion. God damn it.
Right. And when Dustin starts getting double teamed by the heels, Dusty can come in, take that big belt off and that shirt, do a little shucking and jiving, right in the belly welly.
Leave your shirt on, Dust. And take your belt off.
You know he always had an undershirt under the jean shirt he would take off.
All right, next guy. He is my I don't want to say old hand or my old face. But he's a guy that's been around forever, and he's gonna teach some of these guys some shit. And he would honestly probably be an agent in my locker room, and that is Tito Santana.
Oh.
And at this time, Tito's not old.
Right.
No, he's not, but he's been around forever. And but yeah, like he would be my guy that would be okay. I'm not gonna be. Well, I wouldn't even say I'm not gonna be at the building because I'm smart enough to not try to tell wrestlers how to wrestle. But he would be the guy that okay, who's working tonight? This guy. Okay, he is. I have an A by his name because Tito Santana is one of my two agents.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also working. So he's an agent worker. So I'm getting two things out of him, and he's not going to be disrespectful to anybody. He's not going to be a pain in the ass to anybody, and everybody's going to respect him. So why wouldn't you want that guy being? He's more than just a wrestler. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. He's still at the age too, where it wouldn't be balked against or balked at if you did decide at some point to move him up into the main event picture or the secondary title picture. He's still got I mean, his physique's still good. He's still wrestling. Tito never got bad. Watching him, even when we watched him in the 93 stuff in ECW, granted, he did not fit ECW at all. I mean, he was just like a fish out of water there. But the few matches that he had there, even in like 93 when he was in there, he was still fucking Tito, man. What a performer.
Yeah.
He doesn't get talked about enough, actually.
And he's also a guy that, when I said, oh, man, I don't know if I was thinking too much about this, but I'm like, man, who would I have, helping me out in the back and shit,
Mm-hmm.
Tito's a guy, I could use him, because even the Click dudes are like, Tito is the man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even they're I want that Tito thing. Tito's cool. And the Click didn't even fuck with Tito because he was just a nice, respectful dude.
Well, he also used to whip Shawn Michaels' ass, too. When they ever got in a match, it was Tito would win by DQ.
Yeah.
So,
Good pull, Tito Santana.
All right. Next, unless anybody's got anything else on Tito.
Nope.
The next guy on my list, Ron Simmons.
Damn.
Ron Simmons comes in, and he's my big-ass black baby face. I don't want to be – I'm not saying it bad.
You've got quite the youth movement on your babyface side here.
Oh, yeah.
At this time, Ron is still fairly young in the business. I mean, he came in 86, I think he started. And he was had 89. Did Doom start in 89?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was 89 or 90. You talk about a fucking built like a fucking brick shit house.
And a workhorse.
Just badass looking. And like you said, Archie, as big and thick as he was, God, he could work.
Yeah.
And move around he was kind of like, and people can say what they want about him. It doesn't matter. In the ring, not the same, the same moves and everything, but from an athletic standpoint, for his build, he was like Rocky Johnson,
Right.
In that he was built like you would think he'd be like Batista or something, where he's constantly injured or just lumbering around or what have you.
Jumping around the ring, and you'd be like, wow.
Yeah, and moving and high impact, and awesome. Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons was badass.
Him in WCW, early NWA, and then WCW, his power slam was so crisp Like there was no, you know how certain guys hit it and you're like, ooh, that looked like it hurt. No,
Yeah.
he looked like he was grabbing the guy and just forcing him down, but like a baby. You know what I mean? It looked believable, but it was like, okay, he didn't kill nobody.
Right.
You know, so I don't know what happened with Ron from when he left WCW and got to the WWE as Farouk for that first few months. He looked like he was killing everybody. I don't know if he was pissed off and he was just like, I'm going to kill everybody. You know?
Probably.
They shut that shit down. Stop killing everybody.
Yeah.
Right, let me-
Vince went to him like, look, Ron, we love you. We respect you here. Please stop hurting the talent.
Except Ahmed. You can hurt him.
Yeah, you can do what you want to Ahmed.
Don't worry, Ahmed will hurt himself getting out of the shower.
Right.
All right. The next four are going to be, they're not like, oh, I can't believe you picked that guy. They're not shockers. These should be gimmies. But it's Sting. I want Sting on my show. I want Sting on my roster.
I don't blame you.
Mm-hmm. He's at this time it's 89. He's really good. He's coming up. And I'm not telling you how to book your show, but when you're telling me these names, I'm just thinking about them in this context and rattling off. But he's the guy that at this point, probably, I would assume you're going to use as a mid-card title holder, and you have plans. He's your plan for the future, you know?
Yeah. And Sting is also at this point, and we'll talk into like reality of this. Like this was Sting when Sting was still, how do I want to say it? Like Sting was better. I enjoyed Sting better when he wasn't as good of a wrestler, if that makes sense.
Yeah, a little more chaotic.
Yeah, and like his promos were kind of all over the place, and yeah, I preferred like somewhat out of control Sting. Like he wasn't obviously as bad as like the fucking Ultimate Warrior. Like he wasn't like just the shit. Like the dude was still an athlete, but he was just like a big out of control bull or something. You know what I mean? Like it was still it wasn't the pristine, clean package of Sting. Like he was still like his paint was still different. Like it looked like his paint was still different. And how does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you 100%. It was a grittier version because he was still coming up. He wasn't sure what he wanted to be yet, but he could go out and do a 60-minute match with Flair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or have a match with a Lex Luger or Barry Windham, and the fans were behind him. So that's your top babyface right there, in my opinion.
And I'm not. I don't want to get off of Aaron's roster, but talking about Sting and that, you know, he was more frantic at this time in the ring, and like Aaron said, it translates to. I mean, it's just a cool aura. And also, speaking of Flair, though, I think that's one of the reasons that Sting and Flair, other than the fact that they just had great matches, that's why they got married, if you will, in the business together, is because you watch Sting before the Flair match, the Clash match, and then you watch him with Flair as time goes on.
Yeah, Flair taught him how to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, Ric Flair, you can literally watch Ric Flair teach Sting how to become a world championship wrestler.
Definitely.
In the ring. Because Flair obviously saw something in this kid.
Yep.
And he gave him everything and taught him everything. And, I mean, just an observation over time.
See, you mentioned that he was teaching Sting. It wasn't just, though, him teaching him the moves or how to slow down. A lot of people say that wrestling is like two things, either a game of chess or like shifting gears in a car. And you could almost see Flair teaching Sting when to put it into that high end, speed, go, but then how to slow it down at the 20-minute mark and just dance with each other, go. Okay, now it's time to get back to that high speed again, because he didn't want him to burn out. Flair was the 60-minute man before Sting came along. He was having 60-minute matches with everybody. So he had to teach Sting how to get to that point where by the end of the 60 minutes, Sting wasn't half dead and couldn't finish the match. So,
it's a good pick on Sting there.
Yeah, I agree.
The the next face on my list, and you guys are gonna maybe, I don't know, shit on it because I got him on as a face, but it is what it is.
Going?
It's the Great Muda.
Oh,
I'm bringing Muda in as a baby face.
really?
Yes.
Now, this was just 89 is just before Gary Hart brings him into NWA, right?
Yeah, it's the same year, but yeah, it
Same
brings
year?
him in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder what a face Muda would look like back then. Wow.
It almost happened,
Right.
but I think okay. So, what's your reasoning for him being a babyface? I guess I'll ask.
Yeah.
Because he's fucking awesome. Like, people are gonna cheer him anyway. Nobody's gonna boo the Great Muda out there doing fucking like that springboard
Handspring.
or that handspring that he does into the buckle and shooting the mist and fucking doing all that shit. They're gonna cheer him anyway. So just fucking use it.
Do you give him a mouthpiece?
No. He's
No.
just this insane, like, fucking, like, how do I want to say it? Like, he's the guy that just comes in and just fucks some people up, like blowing his mist and doing his springboard and all this other shit. Like, you have no fucking idea what this guy's gonna do.
Well,
He's
is he like
fucking nuts.
is he like a tweener maybe, like not a full blown face, or is he a full blown face?
Right at the
Because-
start, he's the face. Right at the
Because
start.
the reason I'm asking is
They're not gonna
because
boo this guy. They're not gonna boo him.
I don't know. They
booed
booed him
when he
against
was in
Flair
the
and Sting.
NWA. Huh?
They booed him against Flair and Sting.
Nah, not if you really watch it. They weren't.
Well, they weren't booing, but they weren't exactly cheering him either. They were just like popping for big things going on in the matches.
Yeah, and like,
You know,
just saying, it does. He's a face in my show, and he's like,
that's good with me. I'm okay with that.
like he doesn't need to say anything. Like, say whoever's my, like, say I eventually have a heel champion, and he comes out and he's saying some shit. Muda comes out. He doesn't say anything. He just looks at the guy.
Blows
Shoots him in the face with his Muda.
Enough said, or not so much.
Sad.
Right.
It's fucking awesome. He's a fucking face. A great mood to that. Like I said, they're gonna cheer him anyway. So just, I know, like a lot of times they say, "Oh, wrestling fans don't know what they want or whatever." Give them what they want. Sometimes they want to cheer that guy. Let him have him. He's a face. Anything else on that?
Nope.
No.
All right. Next guy, Ricky Steamboat. I mean, go
Absolutely.
fucking Why wouldn't you want 89 Ricky
Now,
Steamboat?
I agree with that. I love Ricky. I love 89 Ricky, but that's why I'd want a heel Muda, because heel Muda versus Ricky might be a hell of a damn match.
How about you team him up and then turn Muda on Ricky?
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah.
That works too.
I mean,
'Cause you know what Muda would do to Mickey. You know what Muda would do to Ricky?
Blow that mist in his face.
Blow that mist in his face.
Ricky would be breathing fire, and Muda would come up and just blow mist in his face, and Ricky would be like, "My eyes."
Yeah. So eventually, like I said, maybe Muda could blow the mist in his face, and then if he does, there's still going to be people that cheer Muda.
Poor
But there
Ricky.
might be some people that boo him too, and then you can just say, "Oh well, his little thing with Steamboat's over, so he's back to being a face." Like Muda's whatever you want him to be. Muda's like he's whatever you want him to be. Fantastic.
I love that we've created accommodating Muda here
Yes,
on
yes.
the We Can't Wrestle podcast this week.
Thanks.
But yeah, Ricky Steamboat, like you said, I mean, there's not a lot to say other than how do you have a wrestling promotion in '89 and not want Ricky Steamboat,
Right.
Vince McMahon? But anyway,
So anything else on Steamboat?
I don't really because there's not a lot of analyzation to
Ricky
do.
Steamboat speaks for himself. It's Ricky
Mhm.
Steamboat. You know?
All right. So now my baby face. My number one baby face, the guy I'm building the entire show around, is the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Dig it.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Top
I mean,
star, all day, every day.
Thinking.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah,
Now-
I mean, a draw.
Definitely.
My personal favorite wrestler of all time. Promo. Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
The whole package. Yeah. I mean, definitely top babyface. He's going to draw you money for years. He can work with anybody. And again, and I keep talking about the future, but that's what you look at as a booker, right? You're going to look at what are each of these guys going to do as time goes on. Eventually, also a great heel on top. You know, I mean, he can
Right.
do everything.
Yeah, and who
If
do
you-
I want? Who do I want? Hulk Hogan, who's going to be an asshole
Right.
anytime I ask him to do something that doesn't work for me, brother. Or do I want Randy Savage? He doesn't have a problem putting somebody over if it needs to happen. If it
Randy
makes it for the
Randy
business.
Savage go, I'll fucking put over Jeff Jarrett. I don't
Right.
care.
Yeah. If it makes good for the business, he'll do it. If it doesn't make it, Hogan will only do it if it makes it good for Hogan business. And I ain't knocking Hogan for that.
Mhm.
See,
Hogan
the-
got where he
Savage,
was at.
Savage.
Hogan got where he
From everything I ever understood, Randy Savage was not selfish. He
Nope.
would put anybody over. He would do anything you asked him to do. The only thing he was paranoid about was
Was
his
Elizabeth.
and his character.
Yeah.
His character being protected. He didn't care if his character put somebody over as
Right.
long as it's done the right way.
But see,
You know?
all right, I'm sure you both watched.
And I'm not going to tell, and that's the other thing as a booker, I'm not going to tell any of these guys how to run their character.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going to give them the play and say, hey, this is what I want. This is what the end game is. But I want Randy Savage to go with this guy, and then tell me how Randy Savage
Right.
react to that situation.
And
I'm not
like
going to
Nate
tell
said,
Randy
he could
Savage how to
change.
react to it.
No, but he already did. Randy's on top. He's the world champion. After a few months, you've got, if he wants to go heel, you've got the best heel in the business at that time. And look at all the baby faces you have underneath him that he could fight.
Mm-hmm.
Savage Sting, Savage Steamboat, even Savage Muda. You know?
Yeah.
So, just so everybody knows, Randy Savage is my world champion. So,
Boo. Boo. No.
Randy Savage is world champion. So that ends
Now,
out.
I have a question, though.
Yeah.
Since you don't have Hogan on the roster, who's going to have lust in their eyes?
For
Is it
Elizabeth?
Dustin? Yeah, is it Dustin?
No, it's Muda because he wants to blow his mist all over.
Oh, so
the pearl necklace of the Orient.
So Muda doesn't have lust in his eyes. He's got mist in his eyes.
In her eyes.
In her eyes, right.
Okay.
Okay,
Before you do your heels, can we take a potty break?
sure, I'll smoke a cigarette.
So
Okay.
will I. Muda, you've got mist in your eyes. No, Randy, you do. Is the baby being bad and beating them up? Was she banished to the living room? Welcome back, Booker Man.
Thank you. Glad to be back. Ah,
So did you buy the Ricky Steamboat today or no?
yeah,
For
I was
$4?
gonna-
How do you not?
I was gonna buy. I didn't even know it was $4 because it was just in a random break pack. Which a
Right.
break pack is just a box that'll come to us that just has like individual stuff, or it'll have like
Right.
things that basically can't go into its own box.
Right.
And for some reason, that was just randomly in there, and I saw it. I'm like, okay. I didn't know it was gonna be on fucking
Right.
clearance or whatever, and I took it out. I thought I was gonna be spending $12 or whatever.
Yeah, they marked them down to 11 here, so.
Scanned it was $4. I'm like, hey, fucking A.
Right.
And it's a cool looking figure too. So
I had one and I sold it to Clayton Garraway because I the only one I wanted out of the set was Becky Lynch.
yeah.
But when I opened it up, I looked at it and I went, why am I getting rid of this? And then I was like, oh, fuck it, whatever.
Then we haven't got them yet, but we have a mod with a tag on them, but we haven't got them for some reason. But they have Garbage Pail Kids,
Yes.
WWF guys.
It's
like
Savage, Austin, Savage, Austin, Andre, and Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when those roll in, I'll probably pick those up too.
See, if they were actually figures, I'd probably want them, but they're like a statue. So
I kind of want the Andre one. I saw it and I'm like, I want that.
No, they're cool looking.
Anytime I see an Andre the Giant type thing,
right.
I get it.
I understand. I would want, like I said, if they moved like the loyal subjects, the little small guys,
Yeah.
I'd be all over it. But because they have to just stand still, it's like, all right, it's another piece in my collection. So
I don't know why, but when I see something's got Andre the Giant on it, I'm like, I want that.
I understand. I'm the same way with Randy Savage and The Undertaker for some reason.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm like that with Savage. There's been some Taker stuff that I've seen that I'm just like, I could not knocking the Undertaker, obviously, but like, yeah.
No, they make way too many figures of him though.
Like they made this thing called like a Smash Cycle, and we sell it at work, and Taker's on it, and it looks stupid. Like it's a stupid looking figure. Like his legs are like straight out. Looks like he's like losing control of his motorcycle.
Well,
like
no,
he's throttled it too much. He's like, ah.
You could actually take him off the cycle, and it's not a bad figure. But I mean, if they were going to give him a motorcycle, why didn't they give him the American Badass motorcycle?
Yeah.
You know, but it's WWE. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, obviously they know better than me.
I don't know if they do because distribution has been horrible for their figures. So.
Okie dokie.
So am I doing my heels or my tag teams next? What do you guys want?
I think you should do the heels next. You got to follow up who's going to be fighting who.
All right. We'll do that.
All right, Aaron, let's get into your heel roster here.
All right. The first guy is, and say what you want to say about him, but I was always entertained by him, Terry Taylor.
Okay.
He's my shit heel. Like he's like little antagonist heel. He might not ever have he might have a belt every once in a while. For the most part, he's just like he's my little nuisance.
Little pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Always scheming.
Yeah, that's what he is. And like maybe even some of the other heels would be like, this guy's a creep. You know what I mean? Because Terry Taylor, babyface Terry Taylor, was good. Like Terry Taylor was always good in the ring, and you can have a good match with anybody. But babyface Terry Taylor was always kind of boring. But I always kind of like little shit heel Terry Taylor. So and I think he has a place on the roster. So Terry Taylor. Anything else on terrible?
No,
Terry
I think it's a good choice.
It definitely is a good choice as a heel because I always thought that Terry Taylor, I think that almost from everything I've ever heard of him, about him, kind of a schemer and a conniver, like in real life as a person.
Yeah.
So that's probably why, as I watched him over the years, I was always more intrigued by him as a heel because it's more his actual real personality, you know?
Yeah. The next, unless anybody else has anything on him.
Nope.
All right. Next guy
Yeah,
on
we're
the
good.
list is also the guy that, since I don't know a lot about professional wrestling and I just have the money, obviously I'm going to have ideas and stuff, but this is the guy that I'm going to say, hey, let's do this or let's do that. He's going to tell me how to get there. Eddie Gilbert.
That's a good
Good.
choice.
Good pick. Great mind, like you were alluding to.
Definitely.
And he can be, it's funny because Eddie, to me, and you guys can disagree. I know Aaron might probably disagree with me. I always thought that Eddie, what do I want to say? He reflected, or he impacted me more outside the ring than he did in the ring as a personality. As a wrestler, and I'm not even dissing him as a wrestler, but as a wrestler where he was basic. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like,
he knew how to go through the motions the right way.
he never did much. Yeah, he never did much in the ring where I went, wow, that's epic or whatever. But I could watch him cut a promo and be an asshole for hours,
And that's the other thing I was going to say. Eddie, like I said, he's my booker. Okay. Creative, whatever you want to call it. But Eddie is also the guy on my roster that's the wrestler manager. He's gonna have a stable, and he's not gonna wrestle every single week. And he's gonna be the guy that, once you get to the big show in Biloxi or whatever, that you want to see him get beat up. Like he's like he keeps like I don't want to harken back to this, but he keeps avoiding the mist, but eventually he's going to get that mist blown on him.
Now, see, I was gonna say, down the line, if Buddha turns heel, that's his mouthpiece right there.
Well, yeah, you can do that
and
too.
Eddie's hyping him up. You know what I mean? Hyping him up to go against Savage, and we're taking that belt, Randy.
Yeah. And I haven't talked about the rest of my roster yet, so I wouldn't necessarily do this feud. But like, he's the guy that is managing Terry Taylor, who is feuding with Ron Simmons. That if Ron Simmons can beat Terry Taylor, he gets 5 minutes away alone.
Now that works.
That's
yeah.
that thing. Like that's what I'm getting at with Eddie. Like Eddie's, like I said, he's not gonna be wrestling every week. He's not gonna be necessary. Like I might even use him every once in a while as like, oh well, welcome to the show. Whoever my commentator would be, like Tony Schiavone or whatever. And tonight, Eddie's gonna sit out here for the next hour, and he's gonna talk about. He's going to be our guest color commentator. Like Eddie can do everything that you want him to do. I know he's not like Nate said, he's not like some like explosive great professional wrestler.
But he also he isn't shitty in the ring. That's not what I was saying.
I'm saying. Like Eddie is a guy that's good. He's not the greatest of all time, but he's good at everything. You know what I mean?
He's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, you do whatever you want with him. Just don't make him a face. There was times when Eddie would be a face. It's like, nah. I don't
no,
Eddie.
he was better as a heel, and I think that the younger part of your roster benefits from a heel like that. The younger part of your face roster, because I could see him. You say if he's got a stable, he's the guy antagonizing Dustin. He's the guy antagonizing Shane and Jeff Jarrett.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, and pushing them to better themselves. So he works as a heel the whole way.
And the next guy on my roster is the guy that Eddie Gilbert is going to be attached to right at the start as his manager.
Bill Irwin.
No. That is Cactus Jack.
Ooh. I like it. I like it.
Eddie Gilbert is with Cactus Jack. They don't belong together, but they're together. You know what I mean?
No, they work. They work.
Eddie Gilbert shouldn't be with managing Cactus Jack, but that's who he's. And Cactus doesn't even need a mouthpiece. But to me, like Cactus Jack doesn't need a mouthpiece because he can talk for himself. But Cactus Jack needs somebody to handle his business. You know what I mean? Like Cactus Jack should just be signing his own contracts and shit because he's fucking insane.
And you can even play up the thing where Eddie's like
taking his money.
Well, not just that, but when Cactus is doing things, Eddie's like, what the fuck? Why are you doing that? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
Why
did
did you
do
stab
that?
your opponent?
why did you do that plancha? Why did you do that?
Right.
Yeah,
You had
that
the
kind
match
of a
won.
thing.
Why'd you get DQ'd? You know,
Yeah.
costing me money.
Who told you to throw a fireball tonight?
I was not made awares of the fireball.
Right.
Yeah. And Cactus in '89 looked and acted and wrestled like nobody else.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is the guy that you're like, hey, you want to see some insane shit? And he's the only one doing insane shit. Okay.
Mhm.
Like,
Yes.
I would put a mandate down in my locker room. Nobody else do insane shit. This is the only guy.
Yeah.
Like, work your
Yeah.
asses off in the ring and stuff, but I don't want anybody else fucking
Taking those bumps
taking
and
those bumps. I don't want anybody else going to the floor unless Cactus has already been out there. If you want to go to the floor after he's been out there and maybe do some shit, fine. Don't go to the floor unless Cactus has already been worked, because Cactus is the first guy that I want to see fucking throw somebody into a guardrail.
Now,
you
you actually have a good storyline built there because I believe Sting was with Eddie Gilbert for a little while too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
So
UWF.
Right. So now Eddie and Cactus start attacking Sting, and Cactus is pushing Sting to his limits. That works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they did in WCW, you know, but no Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah. What's in the box? We aren't going to do that.
Yeah.
Is anything else on Cactus?
Mm-mm.
Perfect placement in your roster.
And my heels aren't necessarily as placed as much as my faces are, because a lot of these guys are established people, which they did on purpose, because I wanted my heel roster to be stronger, because they're helping like the guys like Steve, like Shane Douglas and Jeff Jarrett and whatnot. But the next guy on my list, and he's also going to be my other agent on the side of Tito. Like, I got Tito Santana as my agent, and then this next guy is my other agent, and that is Terry Funk.
Nice.
If Terry Funk is in your locker room and telling guys, I think you should do this, and I think you should do that, they're going to fucking listen. Same way, like I said with Tito. If Terry Funk's like, oh, do this, do that, nobody's going to be like, Terry Funk doesn't know what he's talking about. You know what I mean? They're going to fucking listen. And he's he's in great shape in '89. Like, Terry Funk doesn't get enough credit for how fucking fit he was.
Yeah, he was in better shape in '89 than he was in '79.
Right.
And he's just a guy that I want in my locker room. He's gonna get along with everybody. And he's not selfish, and he's
a fantastic heel.
Yes.
Right.
And when you want him to be a babyface,
he can be
he's a decent babyface. I mean, he's a fantastic heel.
Yeah.
And all around one of the all-time greats. And like you said, you want him like Terry Funk is literally the guy that we were talking about Savage earlier, not being willing to put people over or whatever. Terry Funk in the later part of his career would literally tell promoters, I want that one to put over.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he wasn't about feuding with Tommy Dreamer because he wanted to feud with Tommy Dreamer and go over Tommy Dreamer and have he feuded with Tommy Dreamer because he looked at that kid and said, I want to put that kid over. Like literally, like how unselfish is that?
So good poll with Mr. Terry Funk.
Without doubt.
You guys agree with that? The next guy on my list is Steve Dr. Death Williams.
He could have some great matches with Ron Simmons.
Definitely.
Right, he could.
Definitely.
And this is like the guy on my list. I shouldn't even, like, how do I say it? Like, this is the guy on my list. I was like, these guys might not have a lot to say about him. But this is the guy on my list that it's like, I'm a mark for this guy. And he's badass. He's the guy that, like Nate and I say this sometimes, like, when people draw like a professional wrestler, like Steve Williams is something somebody would draw.
Well, and I was going to say that in every like, okay, what do you want to say? Every off-brand wrestling game of all time that's not actually a WWF or a WCW game, there's always a Steve Williams on the game. There's always a guy that's like modeled after Steve Williams, you know? So, yeah.
And like I said, he's not the greatest talker in the world. And he might be a guy, like I said, that I stick Eddie with. And you stick Eddie with him, and there could be times when Eddie Gilbert's like, okay, we're going to have this big main event tag team match. Try to beat Cactus Jack and Steve Williams. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That would be an insane tag team.
Damn.
So, Steve, Dr. Death, I've actually thought maybe I'd get a little chin music for that one, but I appreciate you guys appreciating that draw.
I'm a Dr. Death guy. I like Dr. Death.
All right. So, anything else on...
Especially at that time.
Yeah.
Especially at that time.
Right. Well, the reason I have no problem with Dr. Death, you have so many facets on your roster that he could go against or be with.
Mm-hmm.
So it works out perfectly.
So, anything else on Dr. Death?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. Next guy on my roster is Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler has to be on any roster. Oh, Archie's like, okay. And I'm like, Jerry Lawler has to be on any roster.
I'm not a big Lawler fan, and it's not because of his wrestling. Jerry Lawler is fine, a great wrestler. I don't know. I get years of watching him. I just got desensitized. I don't know.
He is one of my all-time favorites, and as you know, one of the ones that I am obnoxiously pushing to get into the We Can't Wrestle Hall of Fame next year. Or this year, I guess I should say, in like 4 months. But anyway, it's coming up quicker than I thought it was. But I think Lawler is he's a great addition to any roster. The crazy thing about Lawler, much like Terry Funk, if any of us picked any year from like the 70s into the 90s, we could put those two guys on our roster because they both wrestled for like 50 years.
Definitely.
But Lawler, I think, brings versatility. He brings mic skills. He brings the ability to put over young baby faces. Mm-hmm. He brings the ability to be elevated up to a world title picture. He's another one of those Swiss Army knives in wrestling. Like, you can do anything with Lawler. And the other great thing about Lawler, you don't have to worry about him getting injured.
No.
Jerry Lawler didn't get injured.
Well, he did when he got thrown on that table, but that
yeah.
But and that's something else that you were saying, like, he's a Swiss Army knife. He's a guy that say Gilbert's booking for me, and he starts getting fatigue. All right, Eddie. Let's give you 6 months off, and let's go ahead and let Jerry take over for a little bit. And
didn't they do that in Memphis? Didn't they have like Lawler book for 6 months and then Jerry Jarrett book for 6 months or something like that?
Yeah. But the only difference that I wouldn't allow happen is that Lawler booked for 6 months and then Jerry booked for 6 months, so they just like shit can all the people that the other guy liked. The roster would change. Like Lawler'd sign everybody, and then like Garrett come back, and then he'd take the roster down to like 20 dudes, and then Lawler'd come back in like 6 months, and there'd be like 50 guys, But I just think Jerry's a good pull, and I think he'd work.
I agree.
And you can do whatever you want. Like he could be a baby face later on if you wanted him to be, but I'm bringing him in as a heel. I want him like making fun of the crowd and.
Well, as a heel, he works on so many other levels with your roster.
With the little hipster goatee.
Yeah. So, anything else on?
And he has to have the obnoxiously large crown too.
Yes.
No, nothing else on Lawler other than the crown request.
Like, I think Lawler and Tito would be a fun feud.
Yeah.
And
How
it's
many
not.
Mexican
It's
jokes
80.
Jerry Lawler
I was
had?
about. I was about to say it's 89. It's 89. So Lawler could still make inappropriate
Yeah,
Mexican
like,
jokes.
how many
Right,
Mexican
yeah.
jokes do you think Lawler has? Come on, man. All right, next guy, and he's a guy that I think if he wouldn't have had happen what happened, and it wasn't even his fault what happened to him in '89, would have been a bigger deal. Even though I'm talking like in circles here, but I want 1989 Barry Windham on my show.
Yeah,
And
That's
I
a
want
good
him as a
choice.
heel. I want him as a heel. I want him as a guy that doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't cut a bunch
you want
of
him.
promos. He's just he's the Randy Orton of my roster.
You want him to be. You want him to be the Black Glove heel.
Yeah. And like I said, he doesn't talk all the time. He doesn't. He that's the way I could make it into modern day stuff. Would be he'd be like heel voices in my head, Randy Orton. Just the most dangerous guy and the most dangerous in the entire. He might not always be the champ, but he is the most dangerous guy on the entire roster.
Mm-hmm. Till he comes up against that mist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he'll bring anybody.
But
down.
no, really, you could do a lot with Wyndham. You could do. I mean, oh man, imagine that version of Barry Windham against Randy Savage.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you got some psycho shit going on there.
Imagine
you could have
that
Angelo
version.
bring back the box for that feud.
Wow, what I was gonna say is imagine that version of Wyndham taking out Dustin Rhodes and coaxing Dusty Rhodes back into the ring. You know,
This Barry Windham, Angelo brings back the box, but Barry Windham beats the fuck out of Angelo with it.
and then burns the box.
Yeah. Fucking genius comes back and he fucking pile drives that fucker, you know, like the entire Poffo family. He's like, the Poffos went poofo. I took care of them, you know. So Barry Windham, and he was in the best shape of his career, in my opinion, in 1989.
I agree.
Yep. So, like I said, I think like the Widowmaker could have been such a bigger thing if his family wouldn't have fucked it up for him.
Mm-hmm.
But anything else on Barry Windham?
Nope.
All right, next guy, bringing him in as a heel, signing him away from Vince. It's Bret Hart.
Bringing him in as a heel in 89.
Bret Hart, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Bret is the cocky, arrogant, I'm better than every single person on this show. I can go bell to bell with anybody else. Nobody's as good as me. I'm the hitman. I'm the best.
It's funny because there's 3 Bret Harts. There is end of his career, shit-eating grin Bret Hart. Because I literally, and I am going to get to a point here, I promise. I literally pretend WCW Bret Hart didn't exist.
Like, a few bright points. In
WCW Bret Hart is garbage. And it's not Bret's fault. I'm just saying. Yeah. But anyway, there's 3 Bret Harts. There's shit-eating grin, I'm better than you, Bret Hart, from like 97, heel run. There's the ultimate fighting champion babyface Bret Hart, which is when I became. I liked the Hart Foundation when I was a kid, but I really became a fan of Bret during that run. And then there's young, chubby heel Bret Hart, like when he was like kind of chunky, you know, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And that's when Aaron said he's bringing him in as a heel. I just picture that the chubby, chuckly Bret Hart, like.
and I'm thinking of that too, because. Like, if you watch, like, the Hart Foundation when they were heels with Jimmy, they were shit. They, like, not shit. They were, like, they were assholes. You know what I mean?
And it was great.
And it was great. So I'm thinking, like, asshole Bret Hart, but still looking like Bret always looked like an athlete, but starting to look like starting to look like regular Bret Hart. You know what I mean? Like, to me, like, him coming in is just being the, like I said, he's the guy that's on the show that's saying, I'm the best athlete around here. I'm the best. Me. I like you all suck. And this is gonna sound funny when I say this next guy, but that's what he would be for me.
I agree.
Especially
if we're talking about 89.
Yeah. And then the next guy on my list, unless you guys say anything else about Bret,
Nope,
is Kurt Hennig. There's no way I'm not signing Kurt Hennig.
right.
I would give Kurt Hennig whatever goddamn money he wanted.
If I was about to say, if any of us have a roster, which I think won't work out for Archie, unless he's going to use him as a non-wrestler. But if you have,
if year did Archie have?
98. Oh no, I guess he was wrestling in 98 because he did some shit with Goldberg and stuff. Anyway,
I thought
Kurt came back in 97. Yeah, Kurt came back in 97, so any of us could use him.
You got to put him on your roster, Archie. I'm not telling you what to do. But anyway, yes, especially like this Kurt Hennig, he was not only, I mean, he's the, and I've stated it and we've all stated it a million times on the show. I don't know if there was ever and I'm talking about stuff that I know there's probably some older people that listen that would go, well, what about Dory Funk? Okay, listen. When I talk about pro wrestling in a nostalgic manner, I talk about what I've seen since I was alive. And that's not that I haven't gone back and watched stuff since before I was alive or whatever. But if I'm talking about since I've been alive and a wrestling fan, the two guys that are the most, to me, natural, not necessarily my favorites in the ring. Kurt is one. But anyway, the two most natural professional wrestlers, flawless, are Kurt Hennig and Randy Orton. Say what you want about either one of them, whether you like them, whether you're not a fan of their character, blah 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 blah. In the ring, naturals. Yeah. And yeah, Kurt Hennig on your roster, you need it, especially in '89. Fuck, he was I good
agree with,
in '89.
In '89 and through the mid part of the '90s, I agree. The only reason I didn't add him in '98 is I looked at all the rosters that were around, and I was like, you know what? At this point, he was, floating around with the NWO, and he really wasn't wrestling that much. You know what I mean? Except
he was,
I don't want to say broken, but he was broken.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, he was, and he was. There were drugs and et cetera, et cetera. And
see, had it been '99, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, then I could have been like, well, you know what? He was doing the West Texas redneck thing, and rap his crap. He was actually killing it in that year. But in '98, he was, like you guys said, he was a bit broken, and he wasn't at his full capacity. So I couldn't see giving up a roster spot unless it was in a non-wrestling role.
But in '89, for sure,
yeah.
Want him on your roster.
Oh, definitely. '89 all the way up to about '95.
Like one of the biggest, I guess, letdowns of '89 is that he never actually got to get a world title run. Right. When he had his feud with Hogan.
Never gonna get over Hogan.
And it also landed his feud with Hogan landed too close to WrestleMania, and they were doing Hogan and Warrior. Yeah. I think if he would have maybe gotten hooked up with Hogan 6 months earlier, they might have at least put him over for a short amount of time with the belt. But anyway, it's all conjecture. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Definitely.
If back then there would have been 12 pay-per-views a year,
yeah, or a month.
Then yeah, he might have gotten the belt for like 1 or 2 months and then lost it back to Hogan. But being there was only 4 pay-per-views, they really wouldn't have had time for him to drop it anywhere back to Hogan, except for maybe on a TV show or a Saturday night's main event.
Yeah.
So
all right, gone through all those guys, all good heels.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is my number one heel in my entire company.
It better be the Black Scorpion.
It is not the Black Scorpion.
Sting.
It is Ravishing Rick Rude.
Yes. I like that one.
Archie almost gave that the indie wrestling yes.
Yes.
Yes, Ravishing Rick Rude is my top heel.
Perfect. I like that a lot because between heading, you mentioned Eddie Gilbert having a stable, so I could see Rude and Henning with Eddie Gilbert here and there, but Rude as the main heel, yes, 1,000 times yes.
And at this time, I saw Rick Rude drinking a pina colada at Trader Vic's.
Because his
hair was perfect. But anyway, no, like I think, and I'm not. It's your roster, and I'm definitely not disputing that he could be. I would. I don't want to argue about this.
Well, we're arguing. No.
No, I just and I'm not. Again, this is Aaron's roster, and it's not that it would be bad to have him as your top heel at all. But I think he achieved that more later, like in like 91, 92.
But the reason why is because when he got to where he was at, he stopped being handled so much. And on my show, I'm not saying I'm giving the wrestlers the complete go do whatever you want to do, but I'm also saying what in your mind, what would you do? You know what I mean? And then we'll work with that. So I think Rick Rude probably always had that in him, but Vince wanted him to always be the hip swiveling whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, because when you watch him in NWA when he was with Manny, and I know I'm a bigger fan of the Manny Fernandez Rick Rude team than you are, but he wasn't like he was kind of a badass. Like, I'm a good looking dude, but I'm a tough nailed some bitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think you could always have that Rick Rude as long as you gave him the platform to perform that way.
Right.
And it would be
himself.
It would be half humorous to see him being badass Rick Rude with the big hair too.
Big hair.
Anyway, I don't know why I'm obsessed with the hair right now, but anyway, yeah, good pull, Rick Rude. Definitely. Whether or not I agree, top heel, you definitely want him on your roster. I'd have probably flipped him in Perfect, actually.
All right,
but that's just me. And you can pick my roster apart when I do it anytime you want.
Oh, we're going to.
And now your tag teams, right?
Yes. My tag teams. Excuse me. The first tag team, we're just going to go big or go home. It is Haku and Barbarian.
Nice.
So you're actually putting them together earlier than they got together, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, I always liked those guys together. But I am a warlord / Haku / barbarian Mark. Like, what do I want to say? Warlord and barbarian, and obviously barbarian was a better, like, I guess I'd say, worker. But warlord and barbarian are my two favorite. Aaron knows they're my two favorite muscle guys ever. Like, I fucking love the Powers of Pain, man. Fuck people that shit on the Powers of Pain. The Powers of Pain were and always will be cool as fuck to me in any incarnation. But I also like those Faces of Fear. Meng and Barbarian were fantastic together, too.
Now, did you like Warlord and Barbarian when they were the Super Assassins on Monday Nitro for like 2 months?
My thing about that is... And anybody else, again, who's not a big mark for the team would be like, what the fuck, man? My thing about that always was, why in the fuck did you put them under masks and call them something other than the Warlord and the Barbarian Powers of Pain? What the fuck? I don't know. And again, it's one of those things that's, like, I always call it, you have those things in wrestling as a fan that you call your irrational things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just don't know why, but I actually, all right, here we go. I'm just gonna say it, Archie. I'm just gonna make a confession.
Go ahead.
To the listeners of the We Can't Wrestle podcast and my co-hosts. I like Powers of Pain more than the Road Warriors.
Wow.
I think that when I was younger and I was watching in real time, I liked the Powers of Pain more than the Road Warriors.
I'm okay with that.
And I don't know, Aaron, what do you think about my statement? My confession.
You can say it, and that's fine. I never really this is gonna sound weird, but I never really saw similarities. I mean, there's similarities, but to me, like I don't have that. And I'm even the same way with Demolition. Like I don't think they were. They can say the Powers of Pain or Road Warrior clones or whatever, but it was a different gimmick.
And Vince didn't. I agree. Demolition was not Vince's. Vince wasn't like, I want the Road Warriors, so I'm going to create. First of all, Demolition was Bill Eadie's idea. It wasn't Vince's idea. And secondly, it was based on Kiss, not the Legion of Doom.
Right.
But, you know, what are the similarities? Face paint,
right? And black.
You know, I mean, honestly, what's face like? I mean, fucking Missing Link wore face paint. Right. You know, I don't know. I agree though. I know we just got off as we always do here. On something else.
Here's where I will say that I respect what Nate just said though. I respect the Legion of Doom Road Warriors, but they are not even in my top 5 favorite tag.
No, they're probably the greatest. They're probably the greatest tag team attraction of all time.
Right.
But they're not even close to the greatest tag team of all time.
No.
You know, and that's no disrespect to them. They did big fucking money, and they were great. But
you know, for you, it's Powers of Pain. For me, it's Demolition. And again, I never saw the similarities except for the face paint. But again, I was a WWF kid up until like '94, so I didn't really know about the Legion of Doom until they made their way into the WWE. And I was like, who are these guys? So I went back and watched. I was like, okay, they're cool, but they're not Demolition cool.
Right. You know yeah, they're not Demolition cool.
You know.
That Hawk ain't no axe.
Right. You know.
But I'm sorry, Aaron.
Aaron went off on a tangent.
Took over your deal. But yeah, Meng Barbarian, absolutely.
Good pull.
All right. The tag teams aren't in any order. The next tag team on my list as a tag team would be still kind of in their infancy, but they were fucking ass kickers, and that's Rick and Scott, the Steiner brothers.
I like it.
Get them young.
Right. I like it.
Like Rick had already obviously been in the business for a long time, but Scotty was just coming in. And that would be the way I'd introduce Scotty, would be Rick saying, hey, I know I've been a singles competitor all throughout the country and but I'm coming into this new promotion and I'm gonna bring the tag team. I want to be the tag team champion and I'm what better person can I bring in as my partner? And guess who would be standing over at the side? Guess who'd be standing over the side, being waited to be introduced as Rick Steiner's tag team partner? Guess.
Scott Steiner?
No.
Kevin Nash? Kevin Sullivan?
No. Eddie Gilbert. Eddie Gilbert. This guy's gonna tell him he's
thinking.
I'm gonna get with my little buddy and my big buddy, and he's gonna get me a belt. I'm not gonna do any work, but I'm gonna get all the money as a champion. And Rick's gonna be like, this guy's been with me since the beginning. I'm bringing him in here. He's gonna be my tag team partner. Eddie starts walking up, and he goes, "My brother Scotty." And then Scotty comes out, doesn't even notice Eddie, just bumps into the balls. And looks up, and there's this big motherfucker, and Eddie's like, what the fuck?
And Scotty's like, Eddie Gilbert, you got to understand that when you get in the ring with Steiner brothers, you got a 25% chance.
And now Eddie sends Haku and the Barbarian after the Steiner brothers.
Or Steve Williams and Cactus Jack, either one.
I know I wasn't supposed to be booking angles, but this is all the shit.
That's fine.
I like it.
It's inherently going to happen.
And it wouldn't even be that you would note like blatantly see Eddie at the start, but like say he's talking and you just kind of see like Eddie being happy about it. So like maybe the camera's right here, so you just like kind of partially in the back see like Eddie like, he's about to say my name. Is he about to say my name?
You know
why do I in this segment? Why do I picture Eddie in the Midnight Rockers sunglasses?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
You know,
but-
like the-
But I picture like Terry Taylor next to him go, Eddie, why are you so happy? And he's like, because he's about to announce me as his tag team partner, you know, and he's like really happy about it, you know. Terry Taylor's like, so, and then
so,
you know?
so.
All right. So the next team on my list is another heel tag team. It's not another heel tag team, a heel tag team. It's the Midnight Express.
Yeah, I mean,
Love it.
you know,
You
you
can't.
gotta.
You
Yeah,
gotta.
if those guys are active that year wrestling together,
Right.
you gotta have
You
them.
didn't say they had to be together. You just told me they had to be active, and they were
No,
together.
yeah, no, I guess I shouldn't have said together. If they're both active, so you're doing Condry and Eaton.
No, not Condry.
No,
Lane and Eaton. This
all
is
right.
89, buddy.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I wasn't thinking of my time.
I don't want Randy Rose.
Nobody wanted Randy Rose.
Fucking Tiger King looking motherfucker. I don't want him.
Say,
Tell me Randy Rose don't look like the Tiger King.
A fatter version, yeah. Like he ate the tiger.
that's fine.
Anyway, so I got those two, and then I know you said 30 guys, but this guy's not a wrestler, which if I bring in the Midnight Express, ipso facto, I get Jim Cornette. And that's
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
You
Ipso
cheater.
facto. Ipso facto.
Yeah, I get Jim Cornette.
You're such a cheater.
I know. And a pumpkin ear. And
All right.
work with anybody and do anything you want them to do.
Now, see, and again, you have Jim there as if you need somebody else as an agent or a booker at that point.
Yeah.
You've got so basically you got Tito Santana, Eddie Gilbert, Terry Funk,
And Jim Cornette.
and Jim Cornette. I mean, I'll be honest with you, that sounds like a pretty damn good book wrestling show to me.
And all I got to do is sit back and let those guys do their thing.
Right.
Tell them, hey, I think this guy, and this guy are the guys I want to go with. Get me there.
Fans are like, Jim Cornette's eventually like, Aaron, what do you do? Nothing. That's what you're here for.
Just count money.
I'm just counting money.
So,
Count money.
did you say earlier that Randy was your first world champion?
Yeah,
Okay. And I know you said you had a TV title.
I do. And that's Bret Hart.
Okay.
I'm not
And
done
then,
with, I'm not done
go
with my
ahead.
tag teams yet, though. I got 2 more tag teams.
Okay.
oh, sorry.
You're all right. You told me 30 people, so I got the most out of this shit. My next tag team is my young high-flying tag team. I don't know what to call them, though. I thought a Canadian Air, but then I was like, I think that's a water. Isn't it? Isn't that like a water?
It's Canadian Dry.
It's Canadian Dry, yeah.
All right, well, maybe Canadian Air. I was like, I could also call them the Flyboys. I'm trying to think of like names for this tag team. You guys might be able to think of one. But it's this tag team. I'm bringing them in. It's Brian Pillman and Owen Hart.
Damn, in '89.
Right.
Wow. Mm.
They would have been a fantastic. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they would have been a fantastic tag team at this time.
Definitely. The Canadian
now-
Blondes?
Now you got me thinking of a name for them.
Yeah, me too.
Doesn't mean I know Pillman isn't Canadian, but he can't. Like I would sell it on the fact that they're from like
Yeah.
He trained in the Heart Foundation with the Heart Foundation, so why not? You know,
There'd be times when like Brett would try to get him to cheat and shit, but they're the white meat tag team baby face or tag team baby faces.
wow.
Yeah.
What do you
yeah.
call them?
I don't know. But I know I'm gonna call them fucking awesome because they're gonna be a great goddamn tag team.
All right, that's their tag team. Fucking awesome. SA for short.
Call them the Dungeon.
All right. There you go. But Brian Pillman and Owen Hart are my fucking white meat babyface tag team.
The Dungeon Dudes, and they could have Johnny Ace with them.
The Dungeon Dudes. It sounds like a gay porn.
Yeah, that's
Right? Right?
a horrible idea. They're dressed like Axe and Smash, but not in a good way.
Right.
Bring out the gimp.
They got little biker hats on. It's nasty.
Demolition
I don't
comes out
want
in their
that.
street clothes. Why aren't you dressed to wrestle? Because Brian and Owen are wearing our gear again.
What have you done, Mitchell?
Yeah, you just ruined it.
Aaron's like, I'm rewriting my
Job.
tag teams.
Job
No.
complete.
I'm keeping these guys, but Archie's not how to book them at all. Dungeon boys. What is wrong with you?
No, he said the Dungeon Dudes.
Okay, Dungeon dudes.
They're in S&M gear coming out on skateboards. Jesus Christ. All right, go ahead, Aaron.
Johnny Ace is dressed like a big top master of ceremonies. Whipping them as they're on the skateboards. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Figure it out.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Instead of figure it out, it's finger it out.
Oh, God. You made it even weirder. Oh, God.
Your arms look great, Owen. All right, anyway, Aaron.
Last tag team, and these guys are going to win a round-robin tag team tournament to become the champions.
If it's not the Bushwhackers, I'm going to be really upset.
It's not the Bushwhackers,
Damn
so prepare to be upset. It is Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden, the Stud Stable.
Okay.
I love those fucking guys together, man. They're
Yep.
awesome together. Like, I know they're not like the most famous tag team in the world or whatever, but when you watch those guys together, those two dudes fucking enjoyed being with each other, man.
They did.
Like, fucking love, like, this is gonna be a strange comparison, but it was like watching. We were just talking. It was like watching Jim Neidhart and Bret Hart together.
Mhm.
They're best friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like or Ricky and Robert. It's
Yeah.
different that way, but like these guys are best friends. The Road Warriors weren't always the best friends. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Right.
Sean and Marty weren't always best friends. But Jimmy Golden and Robert Fuller are best fucking friends. And they just work tremendously off each other because the one guy knows what the other guy's going to say before he even says it.
Yep.
And when he does say it and they laugh, they're laughing, but they're legitimately laughing at that shit. You know what I mean? And so, and they work great together, and they're Southern style, so they can get heat, and they can let it simmer, and they can do whatever you want, and they're gonna have good matches with everybody. Stud Stable's my inaugural tag team champions.
There you go. And
I
they
like
would
it.
have, it would be a lot of fun to watch them wrestle the underdog, but very talented team of the Dungeon Dudes. And, that would be, but all joking aside, imagine watching those guys work a program with a young Pillman and Owen Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
something else I thought in my mind was they're my tag team champions. Eddie Gilbert brings out Haku and Barbarian, and they're like, "We want to challenge you for the tag team titles," and they're like, "Nope,
Nope.
Not today."
Like,
Sorry.
Sorry,
We have a match. We have a match with Jeff Jarrett and Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah. Right. Nope. That would be their entire promo.
Nope.
They would say it at the same time. Nope, and then just walk away.
So I'm going to give you an extra. By the way, good roster. Very, very solid roster for 1989.
Definitely.
I'm going to give you an extra, and I'll wind up giving, obviously, myself, Archie, and David this extra also that we didn't discuss beforehand. You have this product, Aaron. You're putting it out there. Something we probably should have included in the initial build of this. Who's calling the action on your show? What's your commentary team? And I'm not even going to limit to how many people. Like, your interviewer, your play-by-play, your color. You've got all these people to choose from in 89.
My interviewer would be Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing Tony Schiavone. I don't want him commentating, but he's going to be my interviewer. He's also going to, now that you put this on my mind, he's also going to be my producer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he's not commentating, because he's going to be doing producing work. And then I would say my commentating team, 1989. I'd be dumb not to say Jim Ross calling the action. I'm going to go with Jim Ross. Jim Ross and
Here they come, the Dungeon Dudes.
the Dungeon Dudes. But it's who do I want to put with Jim Ross? You can edit this out in my thinking.
That's fine.
I didn't think I was
thinking. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Roddy Piper.
Wow.
Jim Ross and Roddy Piper.
Not who I thought he would pick for 89.
I thought you'd go with Jesse.
I thought he was going to go with Gorilla and Bobby.
Jim Ross and Jesse Ventura were terrible together.
I thought he would have went with Bobby and Gorilla.
Nope. Give me Jim Ross and Roddy Piper. And Roddy Piper's a sneaky one because he can commentate, but then guess what?
he can have him wrestle.
I get to sneak a 31st wrestler on my card.
You're such a cheater.
Yep.
You're using the Roddy Piper commentary card, and then we got Dustin, so you can get Dusty in the ring too.
Yeah. Right. And we got Cornette with the Midnight Express.
And Roddy, and I would actually have Roddy be like quasi heel, obviously, but he would still be. He wouldn't be insultive of anybody, but he'd side more because Roddy Piper face commentator was bad. Like that's the only time I never enjoyed Roddy Piper. I shouldn't say never enjoyed it. It's the least I've ever liked Roddy Piper was when he was like
Piper and Macho Man on commentary together were like dueling banjos.
Yeah. That was bad. But he's quasi heel Piper when he needs to be, like when he's talking about like Terry Taylor and this, that, and the other guy. But when it gets up into like the main events, he'd still call it like it was kind of like how Bobby was. Bobby was a heel commentator, but once he got up into the main event and the match was going on and shit, he never like shit on Hulk Hogan as a wrestler or anything. You know what I mean? He still sold Hogan as being Hulk fucking Hogan, and that's what I would do. So Jim Ross and Roddy Piper. Did we lose Nate or did he leave?
I don't know.
Well, he left.
I think he left. You upset him with Jim Ross and Roddy Piper.
He asked the question and then he just left.
Where did you go? Did Jim Ross and Roddy Piper upset you?
Yeah.
No, Nate had to pee.
Oh. Yeah. All right, well, finish what you were saying, Aaron. The Jim Ross and Roddy Piper thinks they can stitch it together.
Oh, I was just saying that he would be, like I said, he'd be like quasi heel Piper. He'd be heel Piper like in like the mid card aspect of it, but once you got up into the main events, like okay, we're gonna have Rick Rude versus Randy Savage. He's not gonna be like insulting Randy Savage or anything like that.
Right.
But I'd want Piper to come in and not necessarily be gnarly bristles and two times Piper, where he doesn't put anybody over at all. But I also don't want him to be that 1990s commentating Piper. I want him to be
Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, I want him to be
going to pay through the nose, that kind of a deal.
Like I kind of want him to be a middle ground Piper. But yeah, Jim Ross and Roddy Piper. I think it'd be fucking great.
I like it.
It could also be a fucking train wreck. I don't know.
A train wreck is great too.
Yeah.
Sometimes a train wreck is great too. All right, Aaron. There is Aaron's 1989 roster. Looking good, man. Looking good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd watch the AWF, Aaron Wrestling Federation.
No, it's the, what did I say it was earlier? The Best List Wrestling Federation. All right. So anything you guys want to shoot out there to listeners before we sign off here this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast?
Not right now. I'm good.
Nope, I'm good too. I just appreciate everybody listening.
Yep.
All right. I want to thank my co-hosts, Aaron and Archie, as always, for being here. Next week on the show, It's the Archie Wrestling Federation. We'll
Yes.
figure out what to call that in the meantime.
Well,
But,
no, Aaron's is the AWF, mine's is the AWF, so we're going to be in lawsuits for who gets to use the name.
Why can't you be Archie and Friends?
No, I don't have many friends.
Archie's going to
Two guys
start.
and David Gold. That's it.
Archie's going to start doing parodies of Aaron called the 1,000 Air Aaron War Room, Wrestling War Room.
Yep.
Wait.
They got the dungeon dudes. We're going to have the tuxedo guys. They got Steve Williams. We got Steve Austin.
We got Steve Williams.
Yeah, we got
The only comparable thing that he could do to the billionaire Ted thing would be that TV trivia thing where he takes all the ignorant, stupid shit that Ted Turner said. That would be that
would me. What wrestling podcast host said?
They got Jim Cornette. We got Vince Russo. All right, they got the better roster. I'll admit
Yeah. But that will be next week's feature, Archie's roster from 1998. So stay tuned for that. And that being said, I want to thank everybody for joining us here on the latest edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. We're going to sign off now and be back with more Dream Rosters next week. Stay tuned, and thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Good night, everybody.
So, yeah.